You're listening to the Angry Marks Podcast Network.
Good afternoon, good morning, good evening. My name is Arya and this is your next Daily Report for Wednesday, March 28th, 2018. We are 1 week away from WrestleMania weekend, and TakeOver really began to take shape here tonight on NXT. We kick off with Tommaso Ciampa earlier today, showing up at Full Sail for tonight's event. He confronted William Regal about Johnny Gargano assaulting him at his physical therapist and showing up at his home at 3 in the morning. Mr. Regal agreed and booked Ciampa versus Gargano in an unsanctioned match at NXT TakeOver New Orleans, with the stipulation that if Gargano wins, he gets his job back, but if Ciampa wins, then Gargano's banished forever. So if Gargano loses, what exactly is stopping him from showing up at Ciampa's physical therapist or at his house at 3 in the morning? Anyway, on the other side of the opening credits, we are joined inside the arena by William Regal. Mr. Regal announced at NXT TakeOver New Orleans, we will crown the first ever NXT North American champion. Before he could continue, we were joined by the re-debuting EC3. Yes, he couldn't bring over his TNA theme, but his new theme, bragging about him being in the top 1%, not as catchy as Trouble, but pretty good nonetheless. He thanked Mr. Regal for rolling out the red carpet for him, including giving him a lucrative contract, a wonderful theme song, and he can't believe that Mr. Regal would create a brand new championship and give it to him on his very first day. He stated that North America is the best region in the world, and he is a literal money printing machine. I am afraid to ask where the money prints out of. Anyway, Mr. Regal cut him off and said that he is not being handed the North American title. However, he is one of the best, and because of that, he will be in the North American title match at TakeOver. It will be him and 5 other men in a ladder match to determine the first champion. The fans were much happier about that than he was. EC3 did state that no matter how many men he has to go through, he will be the North American champion and prove that he is the top 1% of this industry. At this point, we are magically whisked away to the NXT Control Center, where Charlie Caruso talked about the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic. We are down to the semifinals, which will occur tonight. Earlier today, TM61 was at the Performance Center and were disappointed about losing the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic. They said they needed a change of attitude to beat some of these better teams. Meanwhile, while they were talking, in the background, Ember Moon and Shayna Baszler got into a fist fight behind them, which the cameraman rightfully felt was more important. A bunch of people ran in to break it up while the cameraman bumped for them. The incredibly popular Street Profits are here to kick off the in-ring action, and it's the semifinals of the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic, and they have a hard road to the finals as they go 2-on-2 with the defending tournament champions, the former NXT Tag Team champions, the Authors of Pain. Montez Ford, in the only thing close to offense he had in this entire match, talked trash to Razor. So Razor shoved him and yelled back at him. Ford showed his intelligence by immediately tagging out. Dawkins came in and for a brief time became a punching bag, but soon was running wild on both Akam and Razor. This caused Ford to run around dancing outside the ring before offering Paul Ellering whatever is in his solo cup. Ellering threw it to the ground and threatened Ford, so Ford stalked Ellering up the ramp and thus didn't notice that Akam and Razor took back over on Dawkins in the ring and pinned him after the last chapter. Montez Ford is the biggest idiot of the week. Kathy Kelly was interviewing Mr. William Regal backstage. Williams said that Adam Cole, baby, would be the second competitor in the North American title ladder match. Velveteen Dream walked up and said Mr. Regal looked well, and then was miffed when William didn't return the compliment. Anyway, Dream wanted to be in the ladder match as well. Mr. Regal agreed and made him the third entrant in the ladder match. Aleister Black has promised to be here tonight, but at this point we were 30 minutes into the show and he is yet to arrive. My theory is he may have forgotten this show was at Full Sail and instead flew to center stage. But we'll keep checking on that as the show continues. Lars Sullivan returned. He hasn't been here in almost 3 months, and to welcome him back, they found the smallest and skinniest man in Orlando. They put him in tights and told him to go get killed. This man's name was John Silver, and if it helps, Silver did do a great job getting killed as Lars flung him all over the ring before hitting a military press power slam and a diving headbutt of all things, and Lars picked up the win with the freak accident. Again, Kathy Kelly was wandering backstage and again ran into William Regal and again asked him who else would be in the North American title match. Mr. Regal ran into Lars Sullivan this time and put him in the ladder match. Lars promised to destroy people with a ladder, but he also wants Killian Dane. Mr. Regal then put Killian in the ladder match as well. Sullivan continued to glare at him, so Mr. Regal made Sullivan versus Dane for next week here on NXT. Dakota Kai was out for her next match when we suddenly went backstage due to a commotion. Aleister Black has finally arrived at the arena, and he was brutally attacked by the NXT champion. Andrade Cien Almas laid the boots into his challenger before trying to drown him in ice water. Almas did show a heart by stopping the drowning, but he dragged Black into the arena and into the ringside area. Almas threw him into the ring and laid him out with a steel chair. Almas screamed that Black needs to respect both Almas and Zelina Vega before leaving. You know, if I was Aleister Black, I would have wished I didn't show up at all today. And on another note, Dakota Kai's match has been rescheduled. Main event time. It is the other semifinal in the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic as Roderick Strong and Pete Dunne, the unlikely team, the allies, if you will, teaming up now against the former NXT Tag Team Champions Eric Young and Alexander Wolf of Sanity. Strong started this match, and he was not going to allow Dunne was not going to allow Sanity to use sneaky, underhanded tactics to gain an advantage, especially since Dunne has his own sneaky, underhanded tactics. Dunne worked over the arm of Young, but EY actually got out of a double wrist lock and turned it into a suplex. Strong and Wolf tagged in and woke the crowd up with the hockey fight spot. Wolf used a German suplex and an attitude adjustment of all things on Strong, but Roddy kicked out. Young used his wheelbarrow suplex, but Dunne broke that up. This now broke into a four-way brawl, which ended with Dunne and Wolf on the outside, and Young using his diving elbow on Strong, but Roddy kicked out of that. Strong ran wild. Dunne tagged in, and Strong and Dunne moved on as they pinned Young after a double-team pop-up into a flapjack. So Strong and Dunne have now defeated one former NXT Tag Team Champion, and now we're in the finals of the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic against another former NXT Tag Team Champion. And next week, it's Strong and Dunne versus Authors of Pain in the finals. The winners go on to face Undisputed Era at NXT TakeOver New Orleans for the NXT Tag Team Championship. And for Pete's sake, once again, Kathy Kelly was outside Mr. Regal's office. She once again asked who would be in the North American title match. Once again, Mr. Regal said she was in luck, and now he had the sixth contestant in his office. Mr. Regal went into his office, and out walked the sixth and final contestant, Ricochet. The show went off the air with the fans in the arena chanting for Ricochet as Kelly looks stunned by this. And so the ladder match is complete. EC3, Adam Cole, Velveteen Dream, Lars Sullivan, Killian Dane, and Ricochet, one of them, will climb the ladder and become the first ever NXT North American champion in just 10 nights at TakeOver. But until then, I want to thank you all for listening. Next week, it's the Go Home Show to TakeOver. I'll be back then. And until then, have a great week.
You're listening to the Angry Marks Podcast Network.